I would like to give an overview, to give you background information about the approach. And as you can see, we call the approach the Active Mobility Consultancy. And as I said previously in my introduction, the main idea is to promote public transport. So we are not going for any investment in new infrastructure. The idea is to have a certain supply in all of our regions, and to use this supply and just to point out and just to inform people that there is a supply already there. Promotion, I mean, a lot of you, or most of you, have experiences, I assume that, when you are practitioners, in promoting a public transport system in your region or in your field of your interest, in your field of work. The idea of this active mobility consultancy is to do a more specified promotion, not just to spread information among all the people living in a certain area, but to distribute individualized information. So the idea is to get information from the people what they are interested in. So just to give you a short example, if someone is a student, is not interested in a ticket for elderly people, or the other way around, or whatever. So the idea is to distribute this individualized information when I'm saying elderly people, students, or people who know public transport already, or using already or not, among selected target groups. So the challenge is to get this information from the people, what they're interested in, and to select them, these target groups, and finally, we would like to support these promotion campaigns by accompanying measures. So the idea here is to get these people on board to organize event in particular areas and to work together with the people. I will come to that later on more in detail, but this slide shows you the main idea of these active mobility consultancy. So here you can see the 4 pillars of our campaign. When I'm saying individual information campaigns, it's not reinventing the wheel again, because this is, or the idea of that is based on dialogue marketing. And we have a lot of experiences and a lot of examples all over Europe about dialogue marketing. And as you can imagine, dialogue means not to distribute information, but to have bi-directional communication with the people. So I will show you that more in detail later on. Integration of public transport feeder systems. At the introduction I said we know that we have a decreasing demand. We have dispersed settlements in these rural areas, which means normally you have a certain backbone of the public transport systems, and a well-known argument of not using the public transport in these regions is, well, this next station is too far away. So we thought about that. What can we do to say, look, I mean, you are living, we know that you are living quite far away from the next station, but probably it isn't that far as you are thinking. I will come to that later on again. Interactive and participatory events for inhabitants, which means that we would like to have events in these rural areas. As I said, we had an exchange of experiences at the very beginning of the project. And we all know that there are a lot of traditional cultural events in such rural areas. For example, having some festivals, some events with the church, we discussed that. And this means that you have a lot of people participating in such events already. And the idea is to organize similar events or together with these events already organized, and to promote public transport and public transport supply in the region, together with the inhabitants. This organizing these events gives the people the chance to discuss with practitioners their individual problems, because it's sometimes we even don't know these particular problems, and the people here have a kind of platform to say what they're interested in and where are the problems. And finally, evaluation. I will come to that later on, just with one slide, because, I mean, as I said, we are a consortium of 8 partners, and of course you have to quantify the success of the measure in a way. And I will show you an example what we would like to do, and this is of course then to show other people the success. Coming more into details about the individual information campaigns. As I said, this is primarily based on dialogue marketing, and there are a lot of concepts available. So I will go through these different steps, saying a few words to the one or the other bullet points, and this is what we will hear then in the next presentation. This was introduced in a region in the northwest of the city of Vienna, and we followed exactly this approach without any accompanying measures, without any. So this is the idea of the SmartMove project, to have a kind of add-on, because of course we identified these problems I already mentioned, that people, for example, argue that the station is too far away. But first of all, let me go through these different steps of individual information campaigns. So first of all, the preparation phase. Very important to define a geographic area, or to agree on a geographic area, because when I'm saying individual information, I'm talking about particular stations, information for particular stations, because a person living, let's say, a few hundred meters of station A is not interested in the time scale of station B. So be careful with the definition of the geographic area, and of course the selection of the target group. I gave you the example already. So when I'm talking about promotion material, be very careful who can interested in which information. So you need the geographic area, you need the information about the public transport supply, and you need to select the target group very carefully. And finally, what we found out, of course you have to establish at this preparation phase very, very good contacts with the stakeholders. Stakeholder in this case means public transport operator, provincial government, city government, municipality. So in the SmartMove project, for example, we established close contacts to the mayors, because you can imagine we are talking about small municipalities, and everyone knows the mayor. And if you have the support of the mayor, it's a kind of push your campaign. So very important to establish very good contacts to very important stakeholders. So secondly, the general contact phase. So we distribute information letter. So I have an example here. This information letter should be very well designed and should be addressed individually. So we have a database of addresses of people living in the area, and of course everyone is called by name, dear Mr. X, dear Mrs. Y. And this is exactly to stress the point of individualization. And of course the letter is signed by a well-known person. So in our case, for example, the mayor. So if you have the mayor on board, you have a well-known person, or the provincial government. The general contact phase is just giving information that we are planning this campaign, and as you can see here on the slide, it includes also a return postcard, and people should be able then to to fill in this postcard if they are interested or not. Segmentation phase. So if we are, so segmentation phase. Segmentation phase means that, as I said, we would like to spread individual information. In this particular example, we are talking about current use of public transport. Which information might be interested for them? Potential user with or without alternatives. So of course you have to differentiate if a potential user have an alternative, because if it is a worker starting his work at 8 o'clock in the evening, then of course you cannot send him, or it doesn't make sense to send him information about time schedules in the morning. So again, we are talking about individualization. And finally, by filling in this postcard, you give the people the possibility to show their willingness to participate. So here you see the clear yes, and then someone can fill in their name and the phone number. If this postcard is returned and the people declare their interest, then we distribute order forms with individualized information, because in the first contact phase we know whom we are talking about, and here in this order form people have the possibility to order, for example, individualized timetables. As I said, I'm interested in this particular station, I'm interested in this particular line and not on the whole network. Or I'm interested in getting information of a ticket for younger people, and so on and so on. So again, we have some examples which we used in our region, and just to give you a first idea, you can take it if you like, so in particular the practitioners, just to give you an idea about the design. Very interesting, for example, a comparative calculation for trips using public transport and car. Because if you think of potential public transport users, these people are using their car nowadays. So the idea is that we are calculating then the costs for a public transport trip in comparison to their current car trip. And of course, I talked about people are using public transport already. And of course, we would like to give them a kind of thank you present. And my colleague will come to this detail later on just to show it what this can be. So this is the example of an order form which is currently distributed around the tables. And here for examples, these are the goodies which we used in our case study. Delivery phase, so people return this order letter. Of course, we have to include a return letter. So this means that no costs should be at the participant side. So we receive this order form, and very important, when we are returning the information the participants ordered, is a personal distribution. So what we did in our case study, we visit these people at home just to show that we are interested in their individual information. And the idea is to have this, as I said, dialogue, to have these personal contacts here, and to have the option for a face-to-face discussion. Clearly, if you have the possibility, you can use a professional mobility manager to go more into detail, to plan the daily mobility together with the people. I talked about the rural areas, and I talked about these backbone systems, and the argument is very difficult to use to get to a station. And so we decided within our SmartMove project to add the so-called public transport feeder systems. And at the very beginning of our project, we collected a lot of information how we can overcome this argument. In fact, we found about 15 to 16 possibilities of public transport feeder systems. I mean, first of all, by promoting walking and cycling. So if you are going to have a guided cycle tour with the inhabitants, showing the people that the station is not so far away if you are going to use a bike. Or demand responsive public transport service. So finally, the idea is to connect the region to the main public transport system. And of course, to overcome the barrier of insufficient accessibility. Accompanying active measures. I said that we would like to get in close contact with the people, to establish platforms to give the opportunity to have these personal talks, these face-to-face talks. And what we are doing in the SmartMove project, we are going to organize events addressed to certain modes or to the general public. So we will have later on a more detailed presentation about that, just to show you the idea behind that. So I mentioned already to overcome the subjective barriers, to raise the awareness. So people who even don't know the public transport system might get first information at such events about the public transport system. Because imagine you have these cultural event and you have a stand talking to people individual, saying, well, have you known that the bus is running every hour, which is a good supply in rural areas. So do you know that the station is just around the corner? And this gives you the opportunity and to raise the awareness on the ongoing campaign, then in this case means that to raise the awareness on the information component, just to motivate the people to participate and to return their order forward. To offer a platform, I mentioned already, for feedback. Because sometimes there are probably some minor improvements of the public transport system. People might argue, if the bus is going 10 minutes earlier, then I can reach my workplace in time, or I can reach my school place in time. It's just about 10 minutes, but this gives you a platform for feedback to improve the public transport system. And finally, as I said, to achieve direct effects, to convince people at the events. Just a short overview and evaluation. So I talked about the methodology a lot now. I gave you a short overview. And clearly, when we are talking about take-up, when we are talking about transferring information, we would like to quantify the success of our AMC campaign. I mean, there are some statistical figures, of course. What we are going to do is just to collect information, how many people have been contacted, how many people are definitely interested in receiving individualized information, but also which information is interesting. Remember the example, the calculation of costs of public transport trip, a car trip. Are people interested in that? Or do they say, well, I mean, I'm not interested in having any calculation of my individual costs? I don't know. And we will see, and this is just to say some statistical figures and of course some current mobility data, because what we want to achieve, and remember my first slide at the introduction when I talked about the overall goals, we want to get people out of the car using public transport, and for that we need of course information about the current mobility. How many people are currently using the car, and is it or have we been successful to get out people off the car? And this is number the ex-post survey. So we know the current mobility behavior in the particular regions, and while establishing here this ex-post survey, we try to figure out what is possible by these individualized campaigns. So that's it from my side. I hope I was able to give you a short overview on the pillars of or the key elements of our campaigns, and during the next presentations you will see then a lot of examples, a lot of theoretical background more in detail. So, thanks a lot.